The following program is paid for by EG Tax. All opinions or statements expressed on this program are solely those of EG Tax or its guests and do not reflect the opinions of News Radio 930 WBEN or Odyssey.
The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930, toll free at 1-800-616-9236, and cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope all is staying cool out there. This is Chris, not Esther, from EG Tax, and today I'm in studio with my beautiful and wonderful wife, Tiffany. Hey, Tiff.
Hey, happy Saturday. Yeah, Esther's playing hooky today, but we do have a guest, which is very exciting, and that's Kathy Anderson, and she's a real estate extraordinaire from Hunt. And we are so excited to have her here in studio. I know today she had an open house, right?
Yep, I just got done from
Were there
open
lots
house.
and lots of people who came?
Yeah, well, total I had 27 people.
Wow. And Kath, is your mic close enough to you? Yeah. Okay.
There we go. That's
Okay, there
better.
we go.
Yes, much better.
And Kathy, how long have you been doing real estate for, Kath?
37 years.
Wow. I'm also a nurse practitioner, and our medical director just announced that he's retiring. He's been a medical doctor for 40 years, and he said, I've had enough. I've had enough
Yep.
after
You
40
get to
years.
that point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So was it a good showing today, or does the heat keep people away?
No, because it had central air and I had it blasting.
Oh, yay.
In fact, I
Yay.
was thinking of giving out ice cream, getting a bucket of ice cream. That would have been.
There you go.
But it was so busy.
Instead of warm cookies in the
Yes.
Well, that's
ice
what
cream.
I was thinking. I'm like, today would not be a good day for chocolate chip cookies in the oven, right? Yeah. So is the market cooled down a little bit since a year ago?
No, not really. We had a very, very early spring market
Okay.
that really took off.
Yeah.
I think right now with the heat and the kids getting off of school and graduations and weddings and stuff, it's slowed down a wee bit.
Okay.
I feel
And Esther said, have interest rates
they
impacted?
They dropped a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, which is good. But has it impacted the market and people going out there and buying? Or
I think some people took a step back.
Okay.
And are waiting, and I don't know what they're waiting for because it's
Not a
still
lot.
an excellent time to
Okay.
find that perfect house.
Yeah, and then if you want to, you could, when interest rates drop, just refinance.
You can refinance always.
Yep.
But I go back when the interest rates were 16%.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Oh, I remember that when we bought our first house
Yeah, in
way back
Lancaster.
in 1994.
Yeah.
But if you have any tax questions, any questions for Kathy about the real estate, about the new laws for realtors, because I know it can get very confusing because it gets confusing for us when taxes change. Imagine now the realtors are going through it.
Yes,
so
we have a-
if you need to know any questions, any answers, Kathy is your lady. Give us a call here in studio at 803-0930. 803-0930. Got yelled at for saying "oh" before. Or text it in to the board at 716-803-0930. But we're here to help you. Give us a call so we can get your answers
I
for
know
you.
before the show, Kathy, because I was looking at one of the next headlines that we're going to talk about, and this sort of parlays to this. Before the show, I was telling you that one of our clients, they're in a relationship and they're breaking apart and they have a house together, and the one person wanted to get another house, and he recently kept getting outbid. So he just went and cashed in lots of IRAs so he'd have cash, and now he's finally got a house, but he has a big tax bill. And
yeah, you
so
should always consult your tax person before you do anything like that, because
and maybe even
the
your real
consequences-
estate agent too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because you were telling me there's a program out there that it has an appearance of you're presenting a cash offer.
Right.
So
right.
what is
It's-
that?
It's a cash. It's when you do a contract with this bank. I'm not going to mention names, but when you do a contract to purchase, it appears as if it's a cash offer. There's no financing in your contract. However, the seller has to agree to let a bank appraiser come in to do the appraisal. So it puts you a step up with other offers because it's considered cash. It's a guaranteed cash to close.
Yeah, and so Esther, she put together a summary here, and she said, what do you need to put down nowadays?
Well, we always like to tell our buyers, if you want to be competitive, try to do the best you can. You know, but sometimes that's only if you're a first-time buyer, if that's a 3% down loan
Yeah.
or a 5% down loan. You only can do what you can do. But if you can do more, it's better to do more so you're more competitive with the other offers.
Right. I know when our daughter was buying a house, they were contemplating just putting down 10%. And I said, well, if you have it, put down the 20. It
Right.
looks better, but it also will save you the PMI
Yes.
or MIP, whatever you want
Right.
to call it, the
Yeah.
same thing. But that would have saved them $150 a month
Right, right.
in a mortgage cost.
And
so,
you know, Chris, the other thing is we require an earnest money deposit. And so you're going to need X amount of money for your closing costs and down payment. You can do a better deposit, a stronger deposit to make your offer look better
Yep.
to the seller. So, and that's an easy thing to do.
yeah. So let's go. We're going to go to the phones and we're going to talk to Carol. Hey, Carol, how can we help you?
Hi, Chris. This is Carol from Chautauqua.
I can't hear.
Carol from Chautauqua, she said.
I-
I can hear you, Carol. Okay, go on.
Chautauqua County. Hi,
Okay.
Tiffany.
Hi, hello.
Hi. In this period of election and the politicians making their promises, if you only vote for me, and then we get to see what they end up doing. I sincerely want to thank EG Tax and Company. It's actually EG Tax and Family because I had the opportunity to talk to Esther the other day,
Yeah.
and so helpful, so
thanks.
helpful.
Yeah.
And Tiffany, in the past, you have, Christopher, you've answered my emails, and I used to do my taxes with Kathy in Fredonia, and then it ended up being Mark Newton out of whatever
Tonawanda,
office he-
North Tonawanda.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you know, there's a good and a bad to this. I want to tell everybody that how you hear these people come across on the radio, that's how they are. That's how they are. When Esther answered the phone, I thought, oh, my gosh. And when she was talking to me, I thought, this is a family. It is. She cares. And I presented my issue to her. And I'm sure you're going to have to hire about 50 other people to answer the phone so that you can handle everybody calling in. But there's something to be said about a business that promotes the not slogan, but the feeling of we are family. And so I'm just calling to thank you. I don't mean to interrupt the real
You're
estate
fine.
issue. And then to Esther personally, it's not too early, but go Bills.
Yeah, and you know what? I just want to say, Carol, Esther, my mom, does a phenomenal job of researching the literature. And so you were talking about these political times. She'll sniff out details about the tax code that just are, I guess it sort of embarrasses Chris and I that we didn't know it before her. And so I don't know what I would do without her, you know? So I thank you.
Well, thank all of you. And please let Esther know I'm going to send a Jackie E card to EG Tax. I think it's egtax@hotmail.com.
Yep.
Let your mom know that I'm going to send a thank you through Jackie E card to egtax.com.
I will let her know. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. You stay cool and have a great weekend.
You made my weekend.
You thank you.
Okay, the Chris and Tiffany here from EG Tax on WBEN. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
I got a new
And that's a nice follow-up to Carol. And we did not pay Carol to call in. But we do. We treat everybody as family. We want to give the best advice out there to people because we want to see you keep money in your pocket, because these times are tough right now. Don't want to go back to that old adage, times are tough and we have to, but it is,
going to the grocery store, going to get gas, electricity for your house, the water bill.
Yeah, I was visiting my mom this morning and she said one of her friends, the friend's husband passed away, and first time she looked at an electric bill in forever, and it was $300. Nice. And they have a little house in Cheektowaga.
Oh my God.
And she called the power company and they wouldn't talk to her.
Oh, that's a problem.
Because her name's not on the account. They go, we need power of attorney. She's like, he's dead.
Yeah.
You can't get power of attorney.
God.
Well, we need that. Power of attorney dies when he dies.
Exactly.
They wouldn't talk to her. So now she finally got a hold of somebody and they're going to look into it. But it is, you got to look at your bills and look at, because we were on the topic of how the younger generation does everything electronically. They don't look at the paper and they don't look at statements, and you got to look to see what you're paying.
And that's why electronic statements are sort of
I don't like them.
double-edged. I know.
I'm old-fashioned. I like paper.
There's
Yes.
a credit card company that's charging $2 a month so Chris and I paid that credit card off, and we don't
It was
use
a
it
retail
anymore.
store, and we're not using that
Yeah.
retail store
Yeah.
anymore.
Should I ask another question, or you want to go to Brian first?
We can go to Brian and, hey, Brian, how can we help you?
Hi, I'm actually calling about the commercial you just ran about the business form that has to be filled out by the end of the year.
BOI.
Yep.
Yes. I called your office about 2 weeks ago, and they sent me the information. And the first line says if you're not I forget exactly what it says, but basically if you're not a corporation, you can
A
ignore this
corporation
form.
or an LLC?
Okay, so I have a sole proprietor business that I run out of the flea market. I don't have to worry about that?
No, because you didn't register you registered with New York State for sales tax, but you didn't register with the Department of State for New York. So that's something totally different. So no, you are good. If it's just a DBA, you're fine. You don't have to worry about that.
Yay.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Good
You're
news.
welcome. Good luck selling.
Good question. That's speaking of selling. So he's selling antiques or whatever. It could be selling tires over there. But Kathy, I heard that the real estate industry for real estate agents is changing some of the structure on the commissions. Can you help to explain that?
Yes.
Peel
yes.
back the layers of that onion.
Well, it's sort of simple, and this is all going to be starting August 17th, and there's two big changes that are coming forth. Number one, every single agent that's working with a buyer has to be under a buyer agency contract.
Okay. So 8 or 9 years ago, when Chris and I got our house that we're in now, like one day we wanted to go look at one house and our agent was busy, so we used another agent. We couldn't do that
You
anymore?
could not do that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
we have to have that conversation with them. They
Okay.
actually have to sign a contract, just like a seller will sign a listing contract.
Okay.
Buyers will sign a buyer agreement contract
Okay.
with their
Okay.
agent.
Are there, I hate to say it, are there escape clauses where
There are.
Good question.
There's a lot of verbiage on there, so you really have to sit down with them.
Yeah, 'cause what
one
if-
is
what if-
addressing.
What if it's a dud spud, their agent?
Well, yeah, with notice they can
Okay.
they can get out of it if they want. Of
Good-
course,
good
Yeah,
vacate.
just like a listing. You're not happy with your listing agent, you can
Okay.
withdraw that listing. So, yeah, there's options out there. You're not just like
Or-
in
or
jail.
what- God
Real
forbid
estate
they
jail.
get sick or
Right.
move out of the area.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. Of
but,
course.
But part of that, you were saying prior to the show, is, but the sellers decide too if they're going to pay the
Right.
buyer's commission or if the buyer has to pay their realtor the commission themselves.
Right. So there's always been two sides to every sale. When the seller would sign a listing contract, we would have, a certain percentage of that goes towards the listing broker and the other percentage goes towards the selling broker. and then agents get paid from that. So now the sellers can opt out of paying a buyer's agent and only pay the selling agent, their listing agent rather. So say they pay a listing agent 3%, and they're not willing to pay a buyer agent anything. That's zero. That means that the buyer and the buyer's agent would be responsible for that. That buyer would have to pay their agent the other side of that, whatever that commission agreement is. And it's
So
flexible.
it's a lot of talking to your client.
Of course.
Yep.
Of
yep.
course.
And you rightfully told me, you've been doing real estate for over 30 years. There's always been changes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So this is just one of
it's
those.
it's another change. And as an agent, we don't know how this is going to affect the day-to-day
Right.
part of our business.
You rightfully said it could slow things down.
It could slow things
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
The other part is that right now the commission that we receive is always publicized in
Okay.
the ML. And the Department of Justice said no more. You
Oh.
can't do that anymore. So as agents, we will not know what the seller is willing to pay a buyer's agent.
Okay.
And so, and this will affect the first-time buyers, I think, more so, because they just have enough money for their down payment and their closing costs generally. They will not have extra money to pay their buyer agent.
Right. Oh, well, they can. I know somebody said they can just take extra mortgage out, but it's not that simple.
They could. There's ways that we're going to be trying to work things out with maybe a seller concession or different things, but we're offering the seller less. But if they don't have the cash, they don't have the cash.
Right. But I mean, I know because when me and Tiff she brought up buying our house, that the seller, when we were buying it, the appraiser came in way under.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Right, but if say they're buying a house for $300,000, because that's almost like the average purchase price nowadays,
Well,
and these people just barely get approved for $300,000, and now they have to pay the buyer another $5,000, and they're like, well, just get the mortgage for $305,000. But if the house is only appraising,
you're not going to be able to do that.
you can't do that. So I mean, it's going to be really tough.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any questions about this or taxes, give us a buzz at 803-0930 or star 930 on your cell phone.
Yep.
But it's going to be tough.
It's going to be really tough. I
And so
think,
would
for-
you suggest if people could get things accomplished before August, Kath?
Well, I would think it would be easier,
Yeah.
definitely. So yeah, and we've been really busy with listings coming on the market.
Okay.
I think that's the general consensus
And
here.
I know you said too that it may slow things down in the market, but with the market being hot, I know people would call you, oh, can I come see this house? I just saw this house open up. I want to go really see this house. And you can go call the real,
Yes,
but
you can.
that changed
and we
too.
can run over there. We can open up the house and meet them for the first time, and But it's going to be a little bit different because we're going to have the conversation, and we're going to have paperwork signed, immediately.
Can you
and
do it like, I know I'm going to go back to the younger generation and stuff. Can it all be done over the phone and send them an sign form?
Yes, but you know what? You really should be doing it face to face, I feel, because you want to make sure they have a good understanding.
Right, because you don't want them to come back to you and say,
Right.
you didn't explain
Right.
this right.
Yes. And, there's been a lot of focus about listing agents and, I sold this house in so many days and I got so much money for it. But we never hear about buyer agency.
Yeah.
And buyer agents work really, really hard. I mean, it's not like you show one house and they buy it.
Yeah.
You're showing maybe 10 homes. You do an offer for them, and then
On all
it's-
10 homes.
and then the offer's not accepted because there's multiple, and so now you got to start all over. Show another. It's very difficult.
Lots of work.
They have to get educated.
Yeah.
On what they're going to get for their dollar.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
I bring a buyer finally to the table to the seller with my offer, there's a lot of work behind me to get there.
Yep, we're going to go to the text board real fast. My nephew lives in Virginia, recently filed his 2023 tax return, but he used his 2022 W-2s and figures. He didn't work in 23. Will the IRS in Virginia process the returns automatically? Catch it? I suggested amending 2023 to zero income and filed 2022. He never filed them. What do you think?
Amend.
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 Get it? They will catch it.
It might take a while.
Yep. And they will add penalties and interest.
Right.
So
Definitely amend. Yep. And then also not only Arizona, but also the federal.
yeah.
And so you've got to amend both of those. And Chris is right. It's going to take years, and then interest and penalty will start ticking along. So definitely amend and then do the right year, and we can help them out. We do all 50 states. And you are right. The uncle, right? Was it the uncle?
Uncle or
my
aunt, somebody.
back. You want to go to the caller before the break?
No, because we got 1 minute. We'll take Gina after the news. Got another text real fast. Greetings, family. Do you know anyone that does auditing for residential gas and electric bills? Blessings to you all. Dan.
Oh, Dan Fraggle. I got my back to the text board, but I think that's who it is.
That's who it is. I don't know anybody. Do you know, Kathy? Do you have any?
I was wondering
contacts?
if that gentleman that we know who does property taxes would do
I
that.
don't. He just does
Or
property
maybe
tax.
he would know somebody.
I don't know.
What's his name? The property tax guy?
Griebner.
Dan Griebner. So try Dan Griebner. If you Google it, he does property tax.
LowerYourPropertyTaxes.com.
And I wonder if you'd email him or call him if he would know somebody who does utility bills.
Yep.
Good question.
Yep, very good. Okay, Chris and Tiffany Fabian here from EG Tax with our special guest, Kathy Anderson from Hunt Real Estate, here to answer any questions you have in regards to realting or taxes. We're going to take a short break for the news, and we'll catch you on the other side. And we're back. It's still Chris and Tiffany from EG Tax.
And Kathy.
And Kathy from Hunt Real Estate. Thanks for listening. Give us a call here in studio at 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. Text in your question to 716-803-0930. We'd love to hear from you. It's no show without you guys out there. But we're going to go to Gina, who's been patiently waiting. Hey, Gina, how can we help you?
Yeah, hi. You know what? I caught the end of this, so I wanted to ask you. I heard that the gentleman call in about DBAs. I guess something has changed with corporations. So we own 3 rental properties, and what we did is we individually made them LLCs. Is there something we have to do now different?
So how many
question.
LLCs do you have?
3.
3. You have 3 separate. Okay, just want to make sure. So for each of one of those, and when did you do the LLCs?
Well, technically, we did them a year ago.
Okay. So you have to the end of the year to do it. You have to do what's called a BOI, beneficial.
I was going to say, what does it stand for?
A beneficial owner's information report, and it's you registered your business with the Department of State. This probably was New York State, but it's not. This isn't a New York State. For any listener out there, if you started a business and you registered it with Virginia, with Delaware, with Nevada, any Department of State, you have to register it with the federal government as well. Okay.
And we're running a special if you need help with those.
Yep,
I need one. Oh, but yeah. It costs $50.
$50 right now. And
just call us.
You have to register it. We need your information, your name, the business name, tax ID number, your driver's licenses. If it's you and your husband are the owners, we need both of that. And the kicker is, if you don't do it by December 31st, there is a $500 a day penalty.
That's crazy. Up to $10,000.
Up to $10,000.
This is not state. This is federal, right?
This is federal.
Big
You actually
Brother's
do
watching.
it on the Federal Crime Network website.
Okay, so every year when I file my taxes, I can't even remember what it was for, but I always paid $25 for each LLC.
That's a New York State filing fee.
Okay. So this is the federal.
This
Okay.
is the federal. Yep. And you have to do it only once. Okay.
Unless ownership changes. Right?
Unless the ownership changes or you move and you change the address of the LLC, like you move your personal residence, so you have to change where you get the mail for the LLC changes too. You have to do that because then you have 30 days to notify them of the change.
And Gina, if we don't do it, you can do it yourself very easily. What website do you go to?
Finsin.com.
Yep.
Or
Okay.
.gov.
I'm sorry, where?
Fin, like a dolphin.
Sin. Like don't be a
C-I-N.
sinner. C-I-N. Okay, sin.
Yeah.
Finsin.com or Gov. I can't remember which one.
Probably Gov.
But yeah, probably Gov. But you could just Google BOI reporting and it will come up.
BOI reporting. Okay.
And if you need help, we're there for you.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Before I ask Kathy, actually, I'm going to ask Kathy first, and then I wanted to mention our seminar. Kathy, if people want your amazing expertise, and I know every house that Chris and I have ever bought or sold, and same with Esther, you have been there as our agent and done an amazing job. Our daughter just bought a house. You did an amazing job helping her. And so if people want to reach you, what number should they call?
You can reach me at 716-998-4868.
Right. And then, Chris, we're having a seminar. You want to tell everybody?
Sure. In the beginning of October, we're doing a budget seminar called Fighting Inflation. We're going to have a bankruptcy lawyer. We're going to try to get somebody from Consumer Credit Counseling there. We're going to, anybody to help you with the hard
Bills.
time that we talked about earlier in the show, the high gas, the high groceries. We're going to try to help you come up with ways to beat it. Just like you're trying to beat the heat today. If you're interested, you can give our office a call, 632-7886, or go to our website at egtax.com and register there.
Yep, absolutely. And what's the date again of the seminar?
It's like the first Saturday in October.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
great.
and the caller just had a rental property. How are rental properties now with selling?
Well, first of all, there's a low supply of those, and of course we know the rents have increased along with the selling prices of homes, and it's making it more difficult for renters even to find a decent home to live in. So,
Well, rent has gone up tremendously.
tremendously. So sometimes it's better financially to try to gather your funds together and get into that first home and stop the rent, because you're just helping your landlord.
Yeah, that is my mom's a great component of don't pay rent.
Right.
Pay down your own house, earn that equity.
That's right.
And it is like when you see a 2-bedroom now go for $1,500.
I know it. I
month.
wish I would have kept my doubles, but
Yeah. Yeah, but then would you want the headaches of having tenants? It's you either love it or you hate it as a
yeah.
landlord.
No, it was good. It was always good.
Yeah, that's good.
Real estate has always been a good investment.
Yes.
Dan was wondering how to spell the last name of Dan who helps with lower your property taxes, and I've been trying to Google it. Do you have it, Chris?
No, I don't have it. I can try to do it in a little bit.
Okay.
I might have it.
Dan Griebner, I know that. But again, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. Get your questions in so we can help you.
I got it. It's Griebener, founder and president of the company, and it's was it Donald?
Yeah.
Dan Griebner.
Don Griebner, Griebener.
Yep. So, and I'm sure he was really busy this year with Amherst. But has that been a big hard point with you with buying houses, like in the Amherst
good
area
question.
or where other areas where they're raising taxes?
Well, taxes are what's the price, and the next question is what are the taxes? Mm-hmm. Because when people get pre-approved for their loan, they give them certain parameters, and it's like you can look in this price range, but the taxes can't be over X amount. And if they are, we just have to move on.
Yeah.
Or we got to get the house for less, and we know that's not going to happen in this market.
That's a really good point. Taxes are really, really expensive. Yeah, like I have clients, and when I put in their property taxes on their Schedule A, Wheatfield is crazy. Clarence can be, Amherst.
Cheektowaga.
Cheektowaga?
West Seneca.
Crazy.
Yeah, and how many people though still don't register for the STAR program?
It's unbelievable the people that don't register for that. Because when I'm going on a listing appointment, I pull the taxes. I'm like, oh my, they've been there 10 years and they never applied for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been clients, I sit there and they bring in their bills, and on their bill it doesn't have their STAR savings, and so
Right.
I'm thinking, you didn't register, because they bring in their paid bills, and I'm like, you don't have any STAR savings on here.
Right.
And so we register online. It's really easy. It's a no-brainer, and so
I tell my buyers, when they buy a house, put it in your phone, on your calendar, as a reminder to do that.
The day after close.
And also to look for your title search, because you don't get the title search at closing. That comes later, months later.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. We were talking about this before the show. One of my clients, she came in to see me, and she's about 58 years old, because Esther has a question on here, and she's thinking of starting a whole new career. And Esther's question was, what is it like being a real estate agent? Because she's thinking about being a real estate agent, not Esther, but this client. What are the upsides and downsides is what her question is.
Well,
That's a big question.
I have enjoyed this profession and this career for so many years. It has become a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And it's because I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the contact with people and helping them.
Yep.
And you can make your own hours, sounds great, which happens to be the hours that your buyers and sellers are available.
Right.
They're not really your hours, it's theirs. And it's weekends and it's evenings, but there's nothing more rewarding than
Yeah.
finding the right house for someone that they're going to live in.
Yeah, I know my daughter works from home, and she says she misses that interaction.
Right.
of
I love
being-
it. And every day's different.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
hour is different.
Yeah.
Well, we got actually, he's not on the hotline, but he's just called in. It's the person we were just talking about. Hey, Don, how you doing?
Hello, Chris. Good. How are you?
Did
all?
I spell your last name correctly?
You did indeed. Thank
Whoa.
you.
So were you busy during the Amherst property tax increase?
Absolutely. Amherst and Clarence both revaled to 100% this year, so it was
Clarence
a
did too.
confluence of new assessments. And I just want to say revaluations are a good thing. So although people get worried about them and fret about their taxes, I understand that. But it brings values into line. It brings values current. And the tax rate does come down when you do a revaluation because you're adding so much to the assessment base. So
Yeah, you've mentioned that before. It's so hard for people to wrap their head around that, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I understand that. But they've got to remember one thing. The most important thing about an assessment is the word value, not taxes, not increase, not your neighbors, but value. What's the value of your home, and are you assessed roughly around that number? And if you're fair, you're fair, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So when people call me, they talk about a lot of things before they get around to value. I said, well, is your house worth it? And they go, well, yeah, but. I'm going, well, there's no but.
Yeah.
That's what an assessment's supposed to be.
So when I see people, one of my jobs, I'm driving a lot, and I see people in the pickup truck. They have a sign, an A-frame sign that says, what was the increase? 12 or
11.4.
11.4. Are they not speaking? Are they not protesting correctly? Would you say?
Yes, I would say that. And here's why. Number one, the Amherst town tax is what you're referencing there.
Right.
That's only about 20% of your overall tax bill, first of all. Mm-hmm. So the 11% of 20% is really 2.2% of your total taxes. Not that
good
matters.
point.
I just want to put it in perspective. Secondly, that's an argument or a debate or a discussion you have at the town of Amherst board meetings when they're doing their budgeting and their spending. That's when you have some input. After the fact, you can complain all you want, but it's not going to do you any good. It has nothing to do with your assessed value. The value of your home isn't dependent on what the Amherst tax rate is.
Gotcha.
So separate the two, and you'll be much better off.
Much better. And then also Dan Fraggle was wondering if you looked at people's utility bills and gauged if they're paying too much or assessed them or put the pencil to paper?
Actually, I do not. I'm an appraiser by trade. I look at market value of homes and commercial properties. I can try and put them in touch with someone who does those types of audits, they call them.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to talk to folks and put them in the right direction when they call me at the office next week. That'd be fine.
Thank you.
Dan, why don't you give us a call during the week, and we can maybe have you on this summer, and people can ask
Great,
you
Chris.
questions.
All right, as long as you call me Don. I'll
Don,
be
sorry,
happy.
not Dan.
I
Dan
think-
Fraggle, screw it, yeah, Dan, Don.
I know. No, thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate it, and my goal always is to help people. And I always tell them there's only two answers I can give you, but they're both good news. Either I can help you lower your assessment, or I can tell you your assessment is fair.
That's
So
a good
either
point.
way, it's good news.
Yeah, very good business to be in.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I appreciate your thoughts.
Thanks. Enjoy
Thanks,
that. Stay
Don.
cool.
Thank you.
Okay, will do. All right, bye-bye.
Today's a good day for a pool, wouldn't you say?
Yes, yes.
Popsicles.
Yep. Okay, Chris and Tiffany Fabian here from EG Tax with special guest Kathy from Hunt Real Estate. We're going to take a short break, and we'll see you in a couple minutes. And we're back. Welcome. Thank you again for listening out there. We have no show without our listeners. We just want to appreciate it. Appreciate you. Also, I want to thank all those bicycle riders out there
Oh, good
today
point.
battling
Oh.
that heat
Oh,
for the
my
ride for
word.
Roswell. I couldn't imagine. No way I couldn't do that.
There were some people that rode 100 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and today with the heat, wow. And what a cause. What a cause. Both your dad and my dad were afflicted by cancer. And so thank you very, very much. Good point, Chris.
Yeah. And we still got time for your calls. Give us a call here in studio, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. Text in your questions.
And sorry. And then Esther writes a good question here. Kathy, would you recommend borrowing against your personal home with a HELOC to pay off credit cards and things like that? Home equity. Line of credit.
I would not go down that road. I would leave that up to you.
Yeah. So you can write off the interest potentially on a HELOC if you use it for remodeling your home, fixing your home. But to pay off credit card debt, the law changed a few years ago and you cannot write off the interest for that. Although that's a Trump tax change and that's supposed to sunset and go away in like a year, right, Chris, unless they extend it? Yeah, and then also itemizing is so much more difficult now on the federal because of the doubling of the standard deduction. But again, that's supposed to sunset in like a year and go back to the original standard deduction unless they change it. And this goes back to call the experts and ask them a
Yes,
question, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Like next week, we're having Jesse on from Cross States Funding, and he does home equity lines of credits, and that's a good option. Also, Esther also talks about
reverse
mortgages. So for seniors who just don't have the funds to stay in their home, a reverse mortgage is an option. I think it was installed by President Reagan to keep them in their home, which is a really good thing. Because, Kathy, do you find that people who had those really good interest rates, like 3%, 2.7%, it's pretty cheap for them to stay in their home, isn't it?
They're married to that interest rate right
Hello.
now.
Well said. Very well said.
And I think that's why part of the inventory
part-
is
yes.
so far.
That's exactly.
Very well said, Kathy. Yeah. I know from a personal standpoint, Chris and I are married to that interest rate. Yeah. Would you say, Chris?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so there's ups and downs. That client who came in and sat with me about switching careers to real estate, I mentioned the change in the law about the commission, but like you said, there's been ebbs and flows, and so it's been like that through all the years, and there's always changes.
Nothing stays the same.
No.
There's changes, and sometimes we
Yeah.
don't like it, but we adapt.
Yeah.
And we learn how to work through it.
Well,
and it's
Are people still foregoing home inspections when they're buying?
pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty
So
much. I
it's
had
like
7
standard.
offers on a listing the other day, and none of them had a home inspection.
No, would
We don't recommend that you do that, of course, but it's to the point where the buyers feel they have to be as competitive as they can. But you can always maybe not sneak in, but schedule a walkthrough inspection, a shorter inspection, if there's time for that.
That's good.
At
Makes
least
sense.
for the basic
Yeah.
structure of the house.
Yeah. How would you approach somebody, because with the market, with people purchasing way over asking price, what's the best strategy to go in for a buyer out there to go in to look at, to try to be accepted, their bid to be accepted?
Well, first of all, I would want them, if they could, go a step beyond being pre-qualified. I would want them to be pre-approved. If we have time, I would like them to have a pre-purchase commitment. And so they have all their docs in, and all that's necessary for closing is to have the appraisal done. That puts them up there.
Their appraisal done. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Right.
They could also do the home inspection prior to their offer, so they feel comfortable and it's not a contingency in their contract.
Okay. And then I know we talked again, so listeners are probably tired of us before the show.
Yeah.
Do you do mainly escalated bids, or do you just say, we're going to go in at 40,000 over?
Well, it depends on what the seller has decided. Some sellers, they might not have a clear understanding of escalation clauses, so they're like, no, I don't think I want to do that, because they don't have a true understanding. They want to say, yes, just bring me my highest and best. But I find that, for me, escalation clauses are a wonderful tool.
What is an escalation clause?
Basically, you're gonna say that the buyer would, that they have an initial price that they go in at on their contract. However, if there's multiple offers, they may pay $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever they decide over the highest bid. And of course, you got to have a cap on that, not to exceed. So you don't mind going higher if you know you're being pushed to go to that. That's
Right.
fine. But and you win a lot of offers that way.
Yeah. Do you find, I have a lot of clients, Kathy, who are self-employed, like a DBA, that somebody called in about being a DBA. Is it hard for self-employed people to get a house versus W-2 buyers?
As long as they're prepared and they have good records,
Right.
that they can go through that pre-approval process. They have to do a little bit more work to do that, but yeah, no, they can get a mortgage just as easily as someone that's
As long as they're showing the income.
Of course, they have to show the income.
I mean,
be
that's
honest.
where I see a lot
that's
of
true.
the self-employed people going, I can't get a house because I don't report all my income. Well, that's your fault. That's not
Right,
our
I
fault.
had that
That's not-
happen this year. He did something different in how he reports his income, and now he couldn't buy a house. So he's changing it back for next year.
Yeah, that's like a catch-22,
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know, Chris and I, when we're driving in our neighborhood, there's some houses that are, there's real estate signs up, and we're like, okay, that was sold in 5 days. I mean, it's still going on.
It
you know?
is, it
That
is.
was sold in 6 days. There'll be a sign on there that says sale pending, and so it's just a really still competitive market. And I think it boils down to the fact that people are married to those low interest rates and they're not letting go,
Right.
Yeah.
Real estate is like the game show, Beat the Clock.
You could sell, now say Chris and I wanted a second home in Florida. Are you able to do real estate in Florida? Or
I am not personally licensed
Okay.
in Florida, but we have a good relocation department. Yeah. we
Okay.
can-
Hunt does mortgages too, if somebody wanted to get a
Yes.
mortgage
we have
through
our own
Hunt?
mortgage company
Okay.
and title company as well.
Gotcha.
And what's your phone number again for
Oh,
listeners?
of course, 716-998-4868. And if there are any buyers out there, or grandparents are listening and they know their grandkids are trying to buy a house, I'd be more than happy to sit down with them and explain the process.
Do you find that lots of parents and grandparents are helping kids
Yes,
financially?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just had that happen with one of my buyers after he lost out.
Because it gets very defeating.
It does.
Demoralizing.
Yeah. So they got a nice gift from a family member,
Yay.
and we were good to go.
Yeah. Speak of gift tax, Chris, so somebody gifts somebody $50,000 to buy a house, what happens for that person who gifted the money?
Well, they have to do what's called a gift tax return, a 709, where they say, I, Chris Fabian, transferred money to Gracie Fabian. Not going to happen, Gracie, if you're listening. And I gave you $50,000. So I don't get in trouble with the government where it looks like I'm money laundering. She doesn't have to claim it as income. It's just a paper reporting form.
And what's the limit of gifting per year per person?
You can give $20 million if you want.
Without doing the gift tax return.
Without doing the gift tax return, it's $18,000.
$18,000. And so if Gracie was married, I could give $18,000 to her husband and $18,000 to her.
And then I could too.
Yep. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Yeah, and so you really want to dot your I's and cross your T's and make sure you do all the right stuff. Now, say you were the listing agent. Do you find, because the market is so competitive, people don't have to do a lot of repairs and fixing and all that sort of stuff?
No.
Still?
No. You still have to have your house in good shape.
Okay.
Okay? It's going to make it easier because don't forget, the bank appraiser is going to come through there.
That's right.
All right? And if he sees anything, he's going to tell you, hey, that roof looks old.
Yeah.
Get a professional in there. We want a report on that. So I'm a believer. You're not going to go to a wedding in an old dress.
Yep. Absolutely. And then you want those multiple offers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because then you get more bang for your buck. So, and it's always good to spiff up your house and have somebody
and
take
the
a look
buyers
at
out there are used to having on the HGTV shows, the houses are in perfect shape, and
right.
And even we're like, I'm staging a house actually on Monday. Just a small house in Cheektowaga, but we're going to stage it because we want to present it the best way we can.
There you go. And there's nothing like, because I do, as a nurse practitioner, I go into people's houses and a fresh set of eyes, because when you just continuously look at your house, you just don't see it with a fresh set of eyes.
Right.
And so when you come in or another agent comes in, you have a fresh set of eyes and you can say, we should do this and that and this and that.
And buyers are very educated. If they have a good agent, they're going through houses. That buyer agent's going to point this and point that out and notice all these things.
Yep.
That maybe the buyer is not aware of.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
Well, Chris Fabian, Tiffany Fabian from EG Tax, Kathy Anderson from
and
Hunt
thank you
Real
for
Estate.
having me.
Yes,
I
thank you for
it.
being here. If you have questions for Kathy during the week,
716-998-4868.
And hey, Kathy, should I spend $30,000 on my kitchen? That would be a good question to call her to see if you can get that money back out of your house. But if you have tax questions for us during the week, give us a call at 632-7886.
And next week is Jesse from Cross State Funding.
Yep. And until next week, stay cool, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
The previous program was paid for by EG Tax.